Welcome to Whitefields Community Church Sermon Extra. It's great to have you with us once again this week. And next to me is Pastor Frank Cirone from Ravencrest Bible College, all the way up in Estes Park. And we're grateful to have him with us. He was the one who brought us the word on Sunday morning. And we were covering the topic out of Hebrews in the life of Moses, and it was entitled, Moses, Where Are You Looking? And so we're just going to cover just a little bit about that this morning, today on our Sermon Extra. But first of all, let's just introduce you to Frank and who he might be. And we have common people that we know, and over the years we've probably been in the same city, but not at the same time.
Probably.
So one of those common people that we know is Matt Edwards, who is the pastor of Calvary Chapel in Tatabánya. Mm-hmm. And you've come and you've also taught at the Budapest Church a few times, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about Ravencrest? You shared with the congregation and just how widespread it was, and I was just very interested also just how it began. And of course, your guys are in Romania, in Austria, and every place around the globe, it seems. And so just give us a little bit of a history of where Ravencrest came from.
Well, Ravencrest is it's a Bible school and a Christian retreat center up in Estes Park, and it's part of a ministry organization called Torchbearers International. And Torchbearers International was started by a man by the name of Ian Thomas, who was a major in the British forces during World War II. And at the end of the war, the Lord gave him such a passion and a vision to reach German young people. If you can imagine, throughout the war, over 4 years, he commanded his men to fight the Germans. And at the end of the war, the Lord gave him a real vision to reach these German young people. And what Major often would say, he would say, if one German could have 6 million Jews killed, one Jew, that being Jesus, could save over 6 million Germans. Wow. And so he invited groups of German young people to the north of England, to a property that they purchased, a place called Capernwray Hall, which is a manor house, but as Americans, we'd call it a castle, up in the north of England in the English Lake District. And these German young people would come, be introduced to Christ through retreats, and then Major thought it would be great to have an extended Bible school program to give them a gap year foundation before going back to Germany. Then as they were sent back to Germany, they were called torchbearers, carriers of the light of Christ. And then that ministry that began in England spread to Germany, to Austria, and then has spread around the world, in which there are 25 centers like Ravencrest, in which we have anywhere between 900 to 1,000 college-age students that come each year at all of the centers to grow in God's Word. And so Ravencrest started in 1974 as a Bible school and a retreat center, part of the organization, Torchbearers International.
Wow, I mean, that's absolutely amazing. Just a great history. Just somebody would take that idea of just something beautiful came out of that horror that we would call the Holocaust. Exactly. And so how long have you been at Ravencrest?
It's I've been there 29 years.
Wow.
And so this coming year will be my 30th year at Ravencrest.
Amazing. So what does it look like for a student who would go to Ravencrest?
Right. The Bible school program starts in September and goes through May, but it's made up of 3 semesters. And so students can come one semester or all 3 semesters. And there would be resident teachers, but also guest teachers that would come. And Nick came a few weeks ago as a guest teacher teaching on the book of Genesis. And so the students would get Old and New Testament survey. They would also get different biblical study groups. Also, they'd get classes on hermeneutics, apologetics. And so it would be like a foundational freshman year for a student. And our mission statement is engaging students to know Christ through the Word, through relationships with each other, and through the adventure of the Rocky Mountains.
Wow, wow, that's absolutely amazing. Yeah, I mean, as we were talking this morning, I've driven past that, going to Estes Park so many times. Now I'm thinking I'm going to have to make that right turn finally after so many years and come and visit you guys. So no, it's such a blessing to have you with us this morning. I think just heard a lot of amazing feedback, and just I could tell people were just riveted to what you were saying this morning, especially just talking about the foolish heart, and then the fearful heart, and then finally the faithful heart that we need to have, and just looking at the life of Moses. And Nick and I got your notes beforehand, and so we had to put together a questionnaire, kind of a thing for the home fellowship. And one of the things that we came away from, one of the verses that we were prompted to look at from your notes was in Colossians 3 verses 1 through 4, and it says, "If then you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ is sitting at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not on things on earth, for you died, and your life is hidden with Christ to God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you will also appear with him in glory." And you touched in your sermon this morning just the idea of keeping our eyes on Christ, keeping our eyes on things, but that affects the here and now. And that was one of just the questions we had for today, is like, how does setting our minds on the things above, on Christ, how does that really affect us here in the here and now?
Yeah. Like Moses, when he looked around without looking to God, he became full of himself. And he was living independent of what God really desired for him. Yeah. And then there's times that we look within without looking to God, and we become fearful, and really truly is living in disregard of God's promises. The way I'd take that passage there in Colossians, where there is a active part and a passive part. The active part is what is called of us is to set our mind. And the passive element is allowing Christ to be our life, who he has raised us from the dead, for him to be our life through us. And so actively, I set my mind on the things of heaven and on the things of Christ, and the passive is allowing him to live his life as way, truth, and life through me. It's like the electricity, in which when you look at a light bulb, there is the flow of electricity through it, but the active part is it's got to be plugged into the right source. So as I daily and moment by moment am plugged into him, seeking him, setting my mind, emotion, and will after him, then it's the electricity, as it would be, the life of Christ that would flow through me. So there is an element of walk in the Spirit, and I will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. And so as I walk each step, it's his life that is seen through me. I often think of walking, in which at Ravencrest, we have sometimes the students put on what they call a talent show. And sometimes part of that talent show, they'll want to mimic us as faculty up there, and they'll want to dress like us and talk like us and walk like us. And I have a particular way I walk. And so sometimes the students will really try to mimic how I walk. But the only people that can walk like me are our children. Students outwardly try to look like and walk like me, but it's our children. And our one son, Andrew, in particular, in the morning, he throws his legs out of bed and he walks to the refrigerator, and he walks just like Dad. He doesn't have to think about it. But the only way he can walk like me is because he has my life in him. And he allows that life that's in him, my life, our DNA, is functioning. And so how can we walk like Christ? How can we set our mind on the things of Christ? Is the active part, step out and allow, and the inward part is to allow him to manifest that life through us.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what I also found amazing about this morning's sermon is that, we're going through Romans as a church, and we are just, we've got through Romans 12 and 13 and 14, and it's that. All of that what you talked about today, walking in the Spirit and not fulfilling the lust of the flesh, the practical outworking of that gospel that's been given to us by grace through Jesus Christ. And so we're so grateful for that. And we're so grateful that you came and joined us down here in Longmont, in the valley.
In the valley, it's great
in the
to
valley.
Come down.
It was great to have you with us and sharing the word with us. And we just pray God richly blesses the work up there in Ravencrest. So, and we thank you for joining us once again this week. We really encourage you to go over to whitefieldschurch.com. If you weren't at church, didn't get to hear the sermon, it'll be up there. And download, listen, you will be blessed. And we invite your comments and suggestions anytime. Ring that bell on YouTube, and you'll get notification every time there is new content, new videos up there, SoundCloud, Facebook. We're everywhere. So God richly bless you this week, and we'll see you again. Bye.
Thank you.